Okay, let's unpack this. Did you know that nearly 3 out of every 4 adults in the U.S. are considered overweight or obese?
Wow.
That's a staggering statistic from Harvard Health. And if you're anything like, well, like most people trying to make sense of the mountain of weight loss advice,
Oh,
it can feel completely overwhelming.
it really can. There's just so much information out there, and yeah, often saying different things. It makes it really hard to know what's genuinely healthy,
Yeah.
and sustainable.
Precisely. That's exactly why we're taking a deep dive today. We're trying to cut through all that noise, looking at what trusted sources like the NHS, Harvard Health, and the World Health Organization have to say.
Good sources, reliable.
Yeah. Our goal is pretty simple: to give you someone who wants to understand this stuff quickly but thoroughly clear, actionable insights on healthy weight loss. So you can feel informed, not just bogged down by all the conflicting advice.
And these sources, they really give us a pretty comprehensive picture, don't they? The NHS has those practical sort of step-by-step tips.
Right.
Harvard Health gives you the deeper explanations, the bigger context,
Mm-hmm.
and then the WHO brings in those global health recommendations. It's like having a well-rounded panel of experts right here.
Okay, so with all this information, where do we even begin? I think maybe a good first step is getting clear on what healthy weight loss actually means.
That's key. Yeah.
Yeah.
Often people just focus on the number on the scales, right?
Mhm.
But a healthy approach looks at, well, much more than that.
Like what?
Well, the NHS, for instance, suggests using BMI, that's body mass index.
Right, weight and height.
Exactly. As an initial indicator
Yeah.
to see if you're in a healthy weight range,
Yeah,
it's important to remember, though, it's a starting point. It doesn't tell muscle from fat.
good point.
And they also recommend aiming for a gradual loss, like 1 to 2 pounds, or about half a kilo to a kilo per work.
That sounds, well, it feels much more achievable than some of the extreme numbers you see advertised out there.
It does. And Harvard Health agrees. They really emphasize that sustainable weight loss, the kind that lasts, happens slowly and steadily.
All right, and here's where it gets really interesting. They strongly advise against those sudden weight loss schemes, the fad diets,
hmm
something the NHS and Healthline also really point out as being problematic.
It's quite striking how consistent they all are on the risks of losing weight too fast. The NHS specifically says, do not lose weight suddenly with diets.
Yeah,
Straight up.
yeah,
And Healthline, along with the Better Health Channel, they highlight the dangers of yo-yo dieting.
yeah.
That cycle of losing weight, regaining it, losing
You
it.
know that cycle.
Yeah, and the potential long-term negative effects it can have on your health.
It makes sense when you think about it, doesn't it? The Better Health Channel explains that if you lose weight too quickly, you can actually lose muscle mass, not just fat,
Right, and that's crucial.
because muscle burns more calories, right? So your
Mhm.
metabolism can actually slow down, making it even harder to keep the weight off later.
Precisely. So if we connect this to the bigger picture, sustainable weight loss isn't about those quick fixes. It's really about adopting fundamental principles of healthy eating as a long-term way of life.
Like Harvard Health puts it so clearly.
Exactly. It's not about these super restrictive diets that are just impossible to stick to.
And the WHO really breaks down some key facts about a healthy diet for just overall well-being, which, naturally ties into managing your weight.
hmm
They emphasize balancing the calories you take in with the calories you burn out. Simple idea, harder in practice, maybe.
Yeah. And limiting total fat, they say, under 30% of your daily energy. And they really focus on the types of fats, too.
That's so.
Keeping saturated fats under 10% and trans fats, the really bad ones, under 1%.
Okay, that's specific.
It is. And this raises an important point about sugar and salt, too. The WHO recommends limiting free sugars, the
Mhm.
ones added to foods and drinks, plus honey, syrups, fruit juices.
Ah, the hidden sugars.
Yeah, less than 10% of your total energy, ideally even under 5% for extra benefits.
Mm.
And they also have this global goal to cut down how much salt we're all eating.
Harvard Health kind of reinforces this, doesn't it? Stressing the importance of prioritizing natural, unprocessed, balanced foods.
They do.
Huh.
They really advocate for including plenty of plant-based options, making sure you're getting enough protein,
Protein's important.
and just keeping a close watch on how much sugar and salt you're actually consuming. They even give some helpful examples of healthy meals and snacks, which is useful.
Yeah, practical tips are good. And the Better Health channel adds another practical angle, advising you to base your diet on general healthy eating guidelines and to be mindful of eating when you're not really hungry.
Ah, the unplanned or habitual snacking.
Exactly. It's about making conscious choices rather than just, reacting to cravings or falling into old routines.
Makes sense.
Okay, so we've got the foundations down, foundational principles. Now let's dig into some of the practical dietary strategies that these sources highlight. Fiber seems to keep coming up,
Absolutely. Yeah, fiber is a big one. Healthline emphasizes its benefits for weight loss, explaining that it helps you feel full for longer.
which helps you eat less overall, presumably.
Exactly. It can naturally lead to eating fewer calories. They suggest simple ways to boost your intake, like um, adding lentils to soup or just choosing whole wheat bread instead of white. Small swaps.
And we can't ignore the impact of added sugar, can we? Healthline and the WHO are super clear about its negative effects on weight and health generally.
Very clear.
They recommend becoming a bit of a detective when reading food labels, right? To
Yeah.
really understand how much added sugar is hiding in things.
Yeah, it can be surprising. Now, what's interesting here is the sort of nuanced view on fats.
How so? Not all bad.
Not at all. Healthline points out that healthy fats, the kind you find in things like olive oil, avocados, nuts, can actually help with weight loss.
Really? Huh.
They help you feel satisfied, promote fullness, which kind of goes against that old, maybe outdated idea that all fat is bad for weight loss.
Okay, that's good to know. Hydration is another one. Seems simple, but crucial.
Definitely crucial. Healthline discusses the link between drinking enough water and maintaining a healthy weight. They even suggest that having a glass of water before meals might help you eat a bit less.
Interesting little trick.
Then there's the idea of mindful eating. Both Healthline and the Better Health channel touch on this.
What does that actually mean in practice?
It's about really paying attention to your food, eating slowly, savoring it, and being more aware of your body's signals of hunger and fullness.
So you don't just keep eating past the point of being full.
Exactly, to avoid overeating.
And on a more maybe down-to-earth level, the Better Health channel reminds us about portion control. Just being aware of how much food and drink we're actually consuming.
Seems obvious, but easy to forget.
Yeah. Healthline also suggests keeping healthy snacks handy, like fruit or nuts, so you're less likely to grab something unhealthy when hunger strikes mid-afternoon.
Good planning. And they also highlight the advantages of cooking more meals at home.
Why is that so beneficial?
Well, cooking at home really puts you in charge, doesn't it? You control the ingredients, what goes into your food, and the portion sizes too. Healthline notes it's a proactive step towards healthier eating.
Makes sense. You know exactly what's in it.
Right.
Now, okay, it's not just about what we eat, is it? Physical activity is a really important piece of this puzzle.
It is indeed a huge piece. The NHS recommends aiming for at least 150 minutes of moderate intensity activity each week.
What counts as moderate intensity?
Think activities where you can talk, but you couldn't really sing, like a brisk walk, cycling on level ground, that sort of thing.
Okay, 150 minutes sounds like a lot, maybe.
Well, they also emphasize you can break this down into shorter chunks, like 10-minute bursts here and there throughout the week. That can make it feel less overwhelming.
That's good. And Healthline makes a great point that even something as straightforward as a 30-minute walk every day can contribute significantly to weight loss.
Absolutely. Consistency is key. And the Better Health channel highlights that being active doesn't just burn calories.
What else?
It also helps prevent muscle loss, which, as we talked about earlier, is really important for keeping your metabolism running efficiently.
Right, preserving that muscle mass.
Yeah. And they encourage finding activities that you actually enjoy.
Yeah.
That's crucial for sticking with it, making it a regular part of your life, not a chore.
So true. If you hate it, you won't do it.
Exactly. The Better Health channel also gives some very practical ideas for just fitting more movement into your daily routine.
Yeah.
Little things,
Like what?
like walking or cycling, part of the way to work if you can. Always taking the stairs instead of the lift or escalator.
Easy wins.
Yeah. Or even suggesting stand-up meetings if your job allows for it. Small changes like that can really add up over time.
Okay, so we've covered diet pretty well and exercise. But these sources also point to some other, maybe more holistic strategies that can support healthy weight loss. One that caught my eye was minimizing distractions while eating.
Ah, yes. Healthline mentions that. The idea is that when you eat without distractions like the TV blaring or scrolling on your phone, yeah, me too sometimes, you tend to be more aware of when you're actually full, which can help you manage your calorie intake more effectively. Less mindless eating.
Okay, that makes sense. And starting your day with a protein-rich breakfast. That was another interesting tip from Healthline.
Yeah, they say this can be beneficial for weight loss because protein helps with satiety, feeling full, and it might help control your appetite throughout the rest of the day,
Fewer mid-morning slumps, maybe?
potentially.
Yeah.
And thinking about preparation,
Yeah.
smart grocery shopping habits, like always making a list before you go, and definitely avoiding the shops when you're hungry.
Yes, never shop hungry. That's a classic mistake.
It really is. Healthline points out it just makes a big difference in the kinds of foods you end up bringing home.
And what about the mental side? Goals and support.
Really important. Setting meaningful goals, focusing on why you want to lose weight beyond just a number, can give you much stronger motivation, according to Healthline.
The deeper reason.
Exactly. And the support you get from others. That's highlighted as a huge positive influence by both Healthline and the NHS, whether it's a friend joining you on walks or being part of a support group.
Having that accountability and encouragement.
Precisely. And what's really, really important to remember, and something that both Healthline and the Better Health Channel really emphasize, is being realistic.
Realistic expectations.
Yes, and being kind to yourself during the process. It takes time to make lasting changes, and setbacks are totally normal. They're part of the journey, not a reason to give up.
That's a great message. Be patient.
Yeah. And the NHS also reminds us to look after our mental well-being in general, recognizing how intertwined it is with our physical health.
Okay, so we know what helps. Now, looking at the other side of the coin, what are some things these sources tell us we should actively try to avoid when aiming for healthy weight loss?
Well, there's a really strong consensus on steering clear of those sudden, very restrictive diets. We keep coming back to that.
The fad diets again?
Yeah. The NHS, Harvard Health, Healthline, the Better Health Channel, they all advise against these approaches. The NHS also has some practical don'ts, like don't keep unhealthy foods readily available at home, makes temptation harder.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Kind of. Also, avoiding skipping meals that can backfire.
Yeah.
And not feeling like you have to finish everything on your plate if you're actually full. Listening to your body.
Right, and we definitely shouldn't rely on those fad diets and miracle solutions that promise instant results, should we? As Harvard Health and the Better Health Channel clearly state.
Absolutely not. Healthline adds to this list by pointing out it's important not to drink your calories. Think sugary drinks, excessive amounts of juice.
Empty calories.
Pretty much. And also, interestingly, not to completely cut out all your favorite foods.
Oh, why is that?
Well, that idea of not completely depriving yourself is key for making changes that actually last, as Healthline notes. Making it sustainable, not miserable.
Allows for balance.
Exactly. They also advise against comparing yourself constantly to perhaps unrealistic ideals you see online or elsewhere. And also, avoiding using food as a way to cope with emotions, comfort eating, which the Better Health Channel also highlights as an unhealthy habit to break.
Okay, that's a lot of good what not to do advice.
Yeah.
It's also good to know that there are resources out there if you feel like you need some extra support, right?
Definitely. The NHS website, for example, has a lot of helpful information. They've got a free 12-week weight loss plan, tons of healthy recipes, exercise videos,
Wow.
and details on local services and how to get support from your GP, your doctor.
And Harvard Health emphasizes finding an approach that really suits you as an individual, doesn't it?
It does. They really acknowledge there's no single magic solution that works for everyone. It's personal.
And the Better Health Channel suggests maybe reaching out to a professional like a dietitian for guidance, especially if you've tried multiple crash diets before and are finding it hard to establish a healthy pattern.
Yeah, expert help can make a real difference for some people.
So, pulling all of this together then, it really seems like the core message, the big takeaway, is that healthy weight loss isn't some quick fix. It's much more about making sustainable lifestyle changes over time.
Exactly, a gradual process.
It's about finding a good balance in what we eat, getting regular physical activity that we actually enjoy, and really looking at our overall well-being, mind and body.
And like both Harvard Health and Healthline point out, what works brilliantly for one person might just not be the right approach for someone else. It's about finding your fit.
Yeah, discovering what fits into your life, your preferences, what you can realistically maintain in the long run.
Spot on.
So for you, our listener who's joined us for this deep dive today, I'd really encourage you to think about the practical tips we've discussed. Maybe just choose one or two that really resonated with you, something you could maybe start with.
Small steps.
Yeah. You could explore those NHS resources we mentioned, or maybe look into the different dietary styles that Harvard Health touched on, like Mediterranean, Daesh, Mind, or Nordic diets if you want to learn more about specific approaches.
Lots to explore further.
Definitely. And on that note, here's maybe a final thought for you to consider. Knowing that making small, consistent changes is really what leads to lasting results. What's one small but maybe significant adjustment you could make, either to your eating or your activity habits starting today, that aligns with your longer term health goals?
Good question to ponder.
Yeah, maybe take some time to think about that and perhaps revisit some of the resources we've talked about in this deep dive.